Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of CuJo's Corner. This is my podcast that I have not done for a while. Um, to kind of put it simply, guys, my grandmother and I were in the process of switching rooms. So I knew the last podcast that I recorded, which was the interview with my buddy Daniel. I knew that was going to be the last one that I was going to be able to do, at least for a while. But I'm back, and this is one I have been wanting to make for a long time. So I recently just got a new job. I really enjoy it. It's what I went to school for, kind of. It's in the same field. It's at a place called Wheelhouse Graphics, and to put it simply, it's like we make signs and other and banners and magnets and stuff, basically for other companies. I'm a print machine operator. I really like it. It's the environment's great. I've been there for a couple of weeks. The schedule is definitely a lot easier. I can budget my time, so I should be able to get more videos out there for you guys. So that'll be awesome. I have a lot of cool projects that I have in the works, and I'm excited to bring that to you guys. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give my new workplace a little shout out because yeah, I love my new job. It's a great job, and that's kind of what this podcast is going to be about. Now, it's not going to be about my current job. I've only been there a couple weeks. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about outside of the fact that I love it. That's it. No, this one is going to be about my personal experiences and some stories from my years in working retail. Now, I've worked many retail jobs over the years. In fact, actually, up to this point in my life, I have been a retail worker like for pretty much all my entire adult life. I've been a retail worker, at least up to this point. So I've always wanted to make a video like this, but I never wanted to do it while still working in retail. I kind of wanted to wait till it was done and over with and I could kind of move on. And this video would be kind of a celebratory thing. So, and for the most part, these experiences are, none of them are going to be anything like terrible or anything like anything bad. So, I mean, some of them are going to get a little insane, and if you've ever worked in retail, you probably know what I'm talking about. I mean, and if you haven't, just to kind of give you guys an idea, you really will see just how bad people can really be. Trust me. So the first job I want to talk about was at a grocery store. This is when I was just starting my senior year of high school. I was about 18 years old, and it was at this small place called Oak Ridge Market. Now, kind of give you guys an idea. Like I said, I was about 18 years old, and I mean, I wasn't a bad kid. I don't want to give any kind of wrong impression. But I was an 18-year-old kid. I came with that cockiness, that carelessness that most 18-year-old kids kind of come with. Now, that's not to say that 18-year-old kids are bad or anything. It's just I had it in my head, like, like, oh, I'm not going to be doing this forever. So, I didn't really care. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is I didn't really, I was 18. I didn't really care about the job. It was just something I did after school for a little extra money. Um, and it was actually my first federally recognized job. To put that in layman's terms, it was basically the first job that I had to pay taxes from. Um, I point that out because I had a couple jobs before this. When I was 16, I had actually worked for a newspaper company, but it was under the table. It was all commission, and to put it simply, it really wasn't that great, and I don't really want to talk about it a whole lot. Um, and I also parked cars at the Renaissance Festival when I was 17. Again, it was under the table. So Oak Ridge was my first, like, federally recognized job. It was the first job I had that it was over the table, taxes, all that stuff. A bunch of unneeded information, but anyway. Now, again, guys, I'm not going to bullshit here. I was 18 when I started. I was there till I was 20. And, I wasn't like a model employee, but I mean, I was there 2 years. I couldn't have been that bad, but kind of giving you some context. I'm just kind of rehashing what I said earlier. I did not really care about this job. I was somewhat of a reclusive punk and still kind of, I was still growing up in a nutshell. Now, before I start talking about specific incidents, I do want to say Oak Ridge was an interesting job. It definitely it taught me a lot. Like I don't want to I don't want to act like Oak Ridge Market didn't do me any good. I certainly got a decent amount of life experience out of that job. Like I said, a lot of a lot of interesting things to talk about. So, without further ado, I think I've made you guys wait long enough. Uh, the first thing I want to tell you guys about, now these are in no particular order because to be honest, guys, I don't remember when exactly these happened as far as like a chronological timeline. Um, so, this first incident I want to talk about happened to me. It was just, it was a normal day. I was outside getting some carts, and next door to the Oak Ridge I worked at, there was what used to be a Family Dollar. Now it ended up getting torn down and eventually replaced with a Dollar Tree, but this was before we knew for sure what was going inside the empty space, and there was this guy and his daughter, and his daughter didn't look any older than maybe I don't know, like maybe 10, 11 years old, something like that. Um, he stops me and basically starts asking me like, "What the hell are they putting in here? What? Damn it! I used to love going to this Family Dollar. Damn it! I will say this. This dude is like dropping so many. I swear to God, he said like every swear word except I don't think he said ass at all, and he definitely didn't say fuck. But he said everything else. I'm sure, like shit, like shit. I thought the Family Dollar was over here. Damn it! What the hell? This guy's like going through the list, every other cuss word, and he asked me, "What are they putting in?" And I made the mistake of saying, "Oh fuck if I know." Now, maybe it's because now looking back on it, maybe I should have thought twice about saying "fuck if I know." Maybe I should have said I just simply said I have no idea, dude. I don't know. But again, this guy was like, he said every other cuss word in the book, so maybe I felt a little comfortable. But as soon as that word came out of my mouth, he steps up in my face And, well, okay, maybe not like right in my face, but he gets a little closer and he says, "Hey, now I have a little girl with me. I don't appreciate you talking like that, and I am prepared to call 911." This dude is threatening to call the cops on me. I think I was maybe 19 at this point, 18, 19. I don't know. Again, I don't know when the hell this happened, but this guy's threatening to call the cops on me because I dropped an F bomb in front of his daughter. Now, I know some people are not okay with swearing in front of their kids, and look, that's totally fine. I have nothing against that. Whatever you decide is appropriate for your kids, it's up to you. I just couldn't help but have it in the back of my mind, like, dude, you literally said every other cuss word, except, like I said, except maybe ass. I don't think he said ass, and he didn't say fuck. Like, I know that for sure. But you like, and I didn't know what to do. I'm just like, okay, I apologize. He goes, "No, you know it's illegal to swear in front of kids, right? Like, there was a guy that once like tipped his boat over." It's like telling me this story about how this guy got supposedly got a ticket, or he was arrested. I don't know. I started like backing away. I'm like, dude, I get it, man. I won't drop another F bomb in front of your daughter's sensitive little ears. To this day, I don't know what his deal was. I don't know if like he set it up so that I would. I don't know. Like, I don't know what his deal was, but yeah. So fairly interesting, but that's nothing compared to this next person. This was a person who actually would come into our store periodically. This was, and look, I don't say this too often, and I definitely don't say it lightly, but we used to call this woman the insane Nazi lady. Now, why do we call her that? Because she would walk around the store. She was an older woman, looked to be, I don't know, probably in her maybe late 60s, early 70s, I don't know. She'd walk around the store at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, like towards, when we were closing, and she would basically just yell the most absurd thing that she could think of, and I mean, I swear to God, she would walk by like during Thanksgiving time, she'd walk by the turkeys and say, "Oh, look at all the dead birds. Ah, yeah, that's what everyone wants, a dead bird." Now, you might be asking, what does this have to do with Nazis? She'd walk around, I shit you not, she'd walk around with a big, giant, golden swastika. Now, I understand that symbol isn't solely for Nazis, but come on. What's the first thing everyone's going to think of when you see that symbol? Yeah, well, one night in particular, I remember I was sweeping up one of the rugs. Like, towards the end of the night, you had to sweep up some of the rugs, roll them up, and throw them in a cart, and throw them in the back. It was just part of the closing routine, so that's what I was doing. And I heard her complaining about something, and just the sound of her voice, I knew who it was, and I was just like, oh my God, no. Like, I was doing that thing where you got like your hands at the sides of your temples. You guys can't see me, but like sides of your temple. I'm like, oh, not the insane Nazi lady. Oh my God. So I'm bagging for her, and our power goes out. So what happens when the power goes out? Well, we have to keep her inside for at least until we figure out what's going on. Now, there's a storm going on, so it took us like 5 seconds to put together. Oh, it must have been the storm that knocked the power out. Okay. So my supervisor tells us, okay, well, give her what she wants. She's obviously not all there. And, we'll have to figure out if we can, if we can help her get to her car. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, oh Jesus, can we put that in the like front and center, like get her to her car? Speaking of her car, well, it was actually a truck, but anyway, speaking of her truck, she was claiming, this is to me and a couple of the other cashiers, she's claiming that her husband's out in the truck. And we're like, okay, well, is there any way you can contact him and let him know that, it's going to be a minute, the power's out. And I don't even think she either didn't hear us or just wasn't paying attention, because she went right back to screaming absurd things again. I don't know how the hell I almost messed that up, but she went right back to screaming again, and it just got us nowhere. So finally get her out of the store. We finally, I think we actually did manage to get the power back on. So I finally get her out to her truck. There's nobody in there. She's yelling, and she starts yelling. She's like, "Open the door, you son of a bitch!" And I'm at this point, I'm terrified. I'm like, dude, this woman, oh my God, this. Like I said, we called her the insane Nazi lady for a reason. And I mean, I don't want to be mean in case that woman, I mean, I'm not even going to leave it to ambiguity. She clearly needed help, and I hope she did eventually get the help she clearly needed. But oh my God, was that just probably one of the most horrifying things ever. Now, supposedly, I've never seen it, so I can't verify this myself, but I guess there were a few times this woman came in and she'd be like the nicest woman in the world. Like always asking everybody how their day is, and just super friendly. And yeah. Now again, I can't verify any of that because I had never personally seen it. There was really only a few times I'd seen her, and every time I'd seen her, she was just saying the most like disturbingly stupid thing that you can think of, or just screaming the first absurd thing that obviously popped in her head. So, yeah. Gotta love retail, right? But we're definitely not done yet, guys. We're just getting started. So, don't worry, got plenty more to go here, and actually, a little bit more here from Oak Ridge. So this is an incident. This is a fun one, guys. This is what I call my incident with the Sioux Defender. Now, to give you more context, there was a game. I believe this was Ndamukong Suh's rookie year with the Detroit Lions. They played the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving of the year that this particular incident happened. Now, it was the game where Suh stepped on that offensive lineman and he got kicked out. I remember saying that Suh deserved it. He had it coming, which I still stand by. Like, you got to keep your attitude in check. Like, if you're going to do something, if you want to get revenge on a guy, wait till the next play, put him on his ass, whatever. That was kind of my position back then, and that's my position now. But I had this one guy who, because I was talking about it to another, like this guy in front of him, and this guy in front of him was like, yeah, man, I couldn't believe Suh did that. He totally deserved that suspension. And I was like, oh, I agree. You got to keep your attitude in check, whatever. Next guy comes up, and he's like, he's pissed off. Now, he's not like super pissed off, so I guess I shouldn't say pissed, but he was like that right amount of pissed where it's like, oh, I'm super irritated that guy said something that I don't like. So he starts yelling at me and basically trying to say that, like, oh, that guy shouldn't have mouthed off at him. The Sue didn't deserve to be suspended. That guy should have shut his mouth. And I said, dude, I don't care if that guy talks about your mother. You gotta keep your attitude in check. Now, is there a line that you don't cross? Yes, but again, try to keep it clean. Try to keep it within the rules. Like I said, wait till the next play and put him on his ass or something. Or, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think Sue was a nose tackle or an interior lineman. Like I said, put the dude on his ass or get to the quarterback. Make him make a mistake. Make him pay, but make it like within the rules, kind of thing. But this guy was just adamant that, like, oh, Dominican Sue should be defended because Dominican Sue wasn't wrong. I should also note, this dude smelled like he hadn't showered in probably 2 weeks. I mean, just worst case of BO I've ever had. So I'm like turning away as he's making his arguments, and I'm bagging his stuff. And I just, at a point, I literally gave up because I just couldn't take the dude's smell anymore. It was probably the only time I ever actually just quit on an argument because, like, I was just like, oh my god, this dude smells so bad, I can't even, whatever. I ended up getting sent home early that day, and looking back on it, I thought it was a good thing when I got sent home early, but, like, looking back on it, probably because management noticed that I was fighting with the customers, and they were just like, oh, get his ass out of here. He's bad for business. Again, refer back to my point about me not being a model employee. But again, I was there about 2 years, so I wasn't that bad. Okay, so here's another funny one. So, one of the things I used to love to do in the work environment, and I still do this to an extent, having a job you love makes it a lot easier, but when I was working in retail, the thing I always tried to make a habit of was to kind of show my personality a little bit. One thing I like to do with people is I like to make them laugh. I like to make people laugh. My philosophy has always been, if you make people laugh, they'll always remember you. So something I would always do is, like, I'd always say something stupid or say something funny, and it just to make people laugh. I remember there was another coworker. There was another sorry guys, there was another coworker who worked there that kind of had the same philosophy that I did, and we used to have fun, just kind of, like making fun of animes and shit, and we would always make jokes about it because we both watched anime. Well, one time, the service desk, I almost said career services, the service desk person, her name was Nancy, just like stormed out of the office, did like a military march towards me and my coworker. His name was Kyle. She looks at me and says, "Go level." Now leveling was basically when you would straighten out the shelves, and I'm bagging, and I'm like, "Are you serious? In the middle of an order, you want me to go level?" And she goes, "Go level." She just says it again. So I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I'm in the first aisle. I hear Kyle getting chewed out, and then the next thing, he's in the next aisle, and he says, he's like talking to me through like the holes, and he goes, "Hey Justin, you want to hear what Nancy said?" And I said, "I'm sure it was nothing good, something shitty. What'd she say?" And I guess according to her, he tells me, he says, "Yeah, so she said that our bullshit is distracting the cashiers." I'm like, "What, you mean us being entertaining for the customers and making them laugh?" Wow, okay. It was whatever. Maybe we were, like, again, I was no model employee, so maybe we were, like, maybe we, because maybe we talked about South Park or some shit like that, and anybody that's ever watched South Park, I mean, you guys know what South Park is. Come on. And we had some pretty crotchety ass old customers that would shop there. I mean, they used to play this really stupid like 40s music that half the time sounded like Cats in an Alley, and it was terrible. And supposedly they did that because a lot of old people shop there. We were like right down the street from a retirement home, and a lot of old people would shop there. So yeah, maybe something we said, these old people are like, we don't get what they're saying, or we're offended, and that's what she's going off of. Because if there was anything that this store did, it was kiss the customer's ass to like no limit. Like anyone that's ever worked in retail has probably heard like the customer's always right. Not in all cases. And again, maybe in some cases, I'm not always gonna say I'm not gonna say something like the employee is actually always right, but customer is always right is just not. It's not. No, it's just not true. So. But yeah, we got chewed out for supposedly screwing around and distracting the cashiers. So who knows? I don't know what her problem was, but the last thing I want to talk about from Oak Ridge was a specific manager. His name was Ferris. Him and I, I look back on this and I laugh. We had like a literal feud leading up to when they fired me. Spoiler alert, they fired me. um, so when I say we had like a literal feud, I mean there kind of was a point where him and I just could not work together without straight up insulting each other. To kind of give you guys an idea, every time this guy would give me like something to do, he'd be like, "Oh, this is what I need you to do. Here, let me show you." And he'd show me what I got to do, and it'd be a simple task. Like, okay, it seems simple enough. Like, you think you could do that? Do you think you could do that? Do you think you could do that? Huh? Do you think you could do that? He would just keep saying it, and it would buzz in my head. This guy would straight up talk to me like I was stupid. And it was frustrating to say the least, but I was like, again, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid for a little. I got let go when I was 20, but I was still a kid, still kind of figuring shit out. So I would just keep saying, "Yeah, I know what to do," and yeah, there was a point where I would literally be angry and say like, like, "Dude, I get it. You don't need to keep repeating it." And of course, that wouldn't make him happy. And he would tell me, like, "Well, you always do it wrong." So it's whatever. There was one time I remember. I don't remember what I did to piss this guy off so much. His same manager, as Ferris. This guy pulls me out in front of the customers and starts chewing me out. Like right in front of the cashiers, he just starts ripping me a new ass. Like, again, I don't remember over what. Maybe like I'm like bagging and I was like joking around and he just didn't like it. They really didn't seem to like it when you would try to have a personality for the customers. Now, again, I can't stress this enough. I didn't exactly have a filter, and I wouldn't think twice when I would swear, and some people might have found that offensive. So maybe this was just one of those incidents where I swore, and like they they just didn't appreciate it. I don't know. But in any case, this guy literally pulls me out in front of the customers and the cashiers, and he's like chewing me out. It's like, why don't you take your job serious? You never take your job serious. You're one of the worst workers here. And I, just kind of sat there. I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah, I'm one of the worst guys here, yet I'm the only consistent bagger you've had for the past year and a half, whatever. So, yeah, and even one of the cashiers, like, came to me later and said, dude, that was fucked up. Like, I can't believe, like, he ripped into you like that. And I was just like, yeah, I couldn't believe that either. And she also told me that he did it to her, so some of us suspected that, maybe he was under, like, pressure from the people in the back, quote-unquote, the people in the back. It really was, like, the owner of the store. I don't remember if Oak Ridge was a chain or if it was individually owned or whatever. But they didn't run things very well, if that wasn't obvious to this point. So anyway, the last couple things, before I move on to the next place, there was another incident where we had like a clogged pipe in the back or something, and it was leaking. So he handed me some Drano and said, so this is what you do. You pour it in and you plunge and whatever, blah, blah. Showed me what I got to do. And again, gave me the, can I trust you to do this? Can you do it? Can you do it? And I was like, Ferris, I can definitely do it. You don't need to talk to me like I'm stupid. Well, next thing you know, one of the cashiers comes to the back. It was my buddy Daniel. Not the Daniel that was on my last podcast. This is another Daniel that I knew. And he tells me, he says, yeah, I'm here to help you. I says, help me with what? I don't need help. Like, I know what to do. And he goes, yeah, but Ferris told me that you'd be back here for like 10 years if I left you alone. And I got pissed. I was like, this is ridiculous, dude. Like, what is this guy's problem? What is his deal with me? Why does he obviously has an issue with me. What the hell, what did I do to piss him off so much? And he's like, dude, I don't know, man. He does this to everybody. And, the weird thing is Ferris was, like, everyone's favorite manager at one point. When he first showed up to the store, he was, like, the coolest manager ever. He would stop and chat with us and ask us how we were doing, and he would be our buddy, and then, like, out of nowhere, he'd, like, flip the switch and became, like, the douchiest manager in the store and the guy you didn't want to work with. It was anxiety inducing. So the last thing would be when they finally just had enough of me and they fired me. They caught me texting while leveling one of the shelves, and I said, oh shit, sorry, caught me texting. It is what it is. What you need? And Ferris goes, get out of my store. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you need to go. And I'm like, what, am I fired? And he goes, yeah, you are. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, at this point, I didn't give a shit. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he tells me, he's like, come here. Why do you not take your job serious? He asked me that. And I'm like, because it's a grocery store, and I just graduated college. Now, this is right around the time I graduated from trade school the first time, when I got my trade school degree, certificate, whatever, in graphic design. I was like, dude, I'm moving on to bigger and better things. Why do I care? And he goes, oh, okay, fine. Well, then, maybe you can get a job at McDonald's. I can help you with that, maybe. And I looked right at him and I said, I don't need your fucking help for anything. Looked right at him. I said, I don't need your fucking help for anything. And that pissed him off. He went and told the customer service desk lady, her name was Mandy. She says, Mandy, he's gone. I just fired him. He's gonna be leaving soon. And I say, yep. I'm not working for this prick no more. She was like, okay. Well, it was nice knowing you. Sorry. Bye. You know what? I was there 2 years. I did my job. I didn't, granted, I didn't love the job, but I made friends there. People I'm still, I'm not like totally in touch with everyone there, but I still have them on Facebook and that kind of thing. So, the job wasn't 100% terrible. And I actually went back in there not long after I got fired. The same manager tries to say hi to me like I'm supposed to forget all the crap he put me through. And I was just like, no. I wasn't really in the mindset to just forgive and forget at that point. I've gotten over it since. Again, the job wasn't that bad. And actually, I funny enough, I had noticed that the place had closed up. Not Oak Ridge itself. There's still Oak Ridge markets around where I live. But specifically the store I worked at was all packed up. Either they're remodeling or a completely different store took their place. So it was interesting. And again, it was an interesting experience. It was a decent job. I definitely it was definitely an interesting experience to work with the public, at least in that environment at that age. So moving on to the next job. This is probably leaps and bounds the worst job I have ever had. It was at this clothes store called C.W. Price. It was a small, like a small time independent clothes store. Now you might be thinking to yourself, how bad could that have been? When I say it was probably the worst job I ever had, I mean it. It was probably the worst job I ever had. The hours were, now, at first the hours were fine. The money was decent. I mean, it wasn't great money, but I didn't have a vehicle. I was kind of still getting back on my feet at that point. So, when it first started, the hours were okay. It was more or less the working conditions that were absolutely terrible. So, not to sound, I don't want any women listeners or viewers to be offended by this next statement. I'm going to try to tread as lightly as I can here, but I was the only man that worked at this clothes store. Now, the other women that worked there, not all of them were anywhere close to my age. In fact, only a few of them were. And, a lot of them were older. Some of them were, a few of them were a little bit younger, a little bit older. But for the most part, a lot of them were probably old enough to be my mom. Or, yeah. So I was the only guy that worked there. And believe me, when it came to anything heavy lifting, and again, I can't stress this enough. I'm not saying this to be offensive, but I was basically tasked to lift an insane amount of things and do it in a manner that is almost in a timely manner that is probably nearly impossible to meet. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, they would expect me, well, when I say they, I meant my boss, and only my boss, because some of the other girls that work there, I will say this, some of the other girls, some of the other ladies that work there, even they would catch on to this at a point. My boss expected way too much out of me. And whenever I would talk to my mom about it, she would theorize that she was like, yeah, because your boss is a woman and she's expecting you to do too much because you're a guy and she thinks you can lift, more than them, which was true. I was definitely outlifting all these other women. I was definitely outlifting all these other women. I could lift more than they could, and it wasn't close. There were a couple of them that were really strong, and they would help me with some of the heavy lifting. But my boss literally wouldn't let them sometimes. She would be like, no, you got to go out to the front and do this. Or you got to go out to the front and do that. Justin, you have to do all this heavy lifting by yourself. Now, the ladies that would try to help me were the ones that were kind of on my side when I would say, like, that woman expects me to do too much, or she expects too much from me. They would agree. They would say, oh, she does. Like, she treats you like crap, dude. It's honestly unfair. So, what was my boss's name? My boss's name was Lisa. She was not a very happy woman. As I said, she expected me to lift probably about 40 to 50 pounds worth of boxes and, just stuff in general, and do it in a timely manner that just would never be met. How do I know that? Because it was never good enough. Not one time did she ever give me a time frame. It was never, okay, in 30 minutes I want this done, and then in 30 minutes I want that done. It was always, get this done before I get back. And then she'd come back in 5 minutes. Oh, it's not done. Why is it not done? You're too slow. Meh. I'm getting angry just retelling it. So again, I do want to talk about my coworkers for a second. These are the ladies that were not in management. They were some of the nicest people I ever worked with. Again, some of them were very sympathetic to me. They thought that Lisa was overworking me and expected too much of me. They understood that I was a human being, and like I said, some of them would even help me with the heavy lifting, much to the dismay of the manager, Lisa. So, I couldn't compliment the coworkers there enough. They were some of the nicest women I ever worked with. My problems with this place solely on management. Now, again, my boss would expect me to lift about 40 to 50 pounds worth of stuff and do it in a timely manner that was nearly impossible to meet. Well, one time my back started to hurt really bad, as your muscles will tend to do when you're rushing and you're lifting too much at one point. So I said, Lisa, my back is starting to hurt. Can somebody tag out? Maybe I can transfer or whatever. She gets pissed off and has the audacity to bitch and moan like, I'm a fucking smoker and I'm fucking 43. What do you think it's gonna fucking do to my back? God, God, this is ridiculous. I had to put up with this all the fucking time. Guys, to give you an idea how much pain I was putting myself through, I could not sleep at night. My back hurt so bad, I literally couldn't sleep. So, yeah. But, 43 and I'm a smoker. Meh. Now, that's not to undermine, that I was a lot younger than her. I think I was like 21 21, 22 at the time, something like that. So, again, obviously, I'm probably going to be able to go a longer distance than her as far as lifting goes. But again, I had been lifting so much, my arms, my shoulders, my back, everything hurt. I couldn't even sleep at night. And I mean, it was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, it got to a point, they thought I was so slow and my time wasn't enough for them that her and the assistant manager, her name was Heather, they take me outside in the back and they asked me, like, oh, they give me the little spiel, like, oh, see, we noticed that you're just not meeting our standards of speed. You're just not meeting no standards. And I talked to Heather and I discussed, should we just let him go? I mean, should we just let him go? He doesn't seem to meet our standards. And Heather said that she thinks that you should get another chance. So I want you to make your case. What do you think? Wait, is this really the best you can give us, or are you, is there something going on? Do we need to have a chat? And I said, well, you're asking me to lift about 40 to 50 pounds worth of stuff. It's killing me. My back hurts. I can't sleep at night. Like, Lisa, not to sound like a whiner, but you really are expecting a lot out of me. Honest to God, she fucking looks at me and says, well, fuck your back for just a second. Fuck your back. Is this really the best you can give us? I didn't even know what to say at that point. I I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You seriously just said that? You are you're gonna completely undermine what I just told you? Because you're pissed off? Like, okay, alright. Really, really love the regard you have for my safety. And, that was kind of like strike one. But luckily I don't know if luckily is the word I would use, but they didn't fire me. I got to keep going. So, yeah. Next comes another incident. This is kind of the boiling point. This is pretty much what made me just kind of throw my arms up and say, that's it. I'm going to quit. I can't take this no more. There was a day where it was me and another coworker. Her name was Michelle. We were talking about anime. And, I mentioned earlier, I like anime. We were talking about some animes, and we were, I guess, like, we were supposed to put like shirts, clothes on hangers and separate them accordingly, and then out of nowhere, Lisa and Heather walk in, and they're like, what the hell is all this? Why is this not done? Like, we ran out of coat hang. That's something I forgot to mention. We had actually ran out of coat hangers and had to help someone help us find some more. Now, apparently we used the wrong ones. They look just like the ones we were using, but I guess there was like a stripe on them or some, I don't know, some shit. And we got chewed out. Says, look, there's a whole bunch of them over here. Oh my fucking God. I'm not even kidding. My manager's throwing a tantrum. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a manager of any store drop so many F-bombs. And I've worked for many fucking retail places. Believe me, this was ridiculous. So I tried to defend myself and Michelle after a while, and I said, Lisa, in all fairness, we ran out of coat hangers. We didn't know where the other ones were. And she goes, we didn't run out of coat hangers, Justin. Jesus fucking Christ. And I had enough. I was like, you know what? I'm getting so fucking pissed off. I've been putting up with this crap for a month. I've never fucking appreciated. I've never been fucking thanked. All I ever get is bitched at and told that I'm not good enough. So she's like, you know what? Just go. Come back tomorrow. We'll train you on the register or whatever. They had told me earlier, like, oh, we're going to train you on the register. Because clearly you're not fast enough. So I'm like, all right, fine. Maybe I'll enjoy the register more. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm in the bathroom. I'm washing my hands. And I couldn't help but hear Lisa's loud, screeching voice. She was yelling at Michelle. And I don't remember word for word what she says, but I remember one thing she said because it had me so pissed off, I was literally turning red. She goes, you indulge him and you talk to him. You know what he is, Justin? He's fucking useless. Justin is fucking useless. She's yelling this to my coworker. She's yelling at my coworker for supposedly my screw up. Again, their shit wasn't at all organized. This one of the worst fucking stores I've ever seen. Had to be one of the most unorganized places ever. So I had enough. I was angry, and I knew. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm quitting. I can't take this no more. This is bullshit. I'm better than this. I don't have to take this. I'm getting out. I'll get a job elsewhere. This is stupid. So, I walked out of the store, and thankfully, Lisa never turned around and saw me and proceeded to chew me out more. I'm sure she would have had some more shit to say. So anyway, I walked out, came back the next night, and learned how they do things on the register. Now, I walked in knowing that I was going to quit at the end of the day. I just wanted to work and get that last day's worth of pay. So I waited till, we closed at 10. I waited till about 9 o'clock and we started wrapping everything up. And the other manager, I think her name was like Nicole or something. It wasn't Heather. It was the other, like the supervisor. Not so much manager as like a supervisor, but I think her name was like Nicole or something. I don't really remember. She's like, so how do you like the register? Do you like it better than the stock? And I was like, yeah, but you know what? And I took my name tag off and I said, I quit. And Nicole's jaw, about hit the ground. It was hilarious. She's like, you gotta be kidding me. You're quitting? And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm done. I'm not putting up with this no more. I'm sick of Lisa, and I'm sick of her crap. So we go in the back. She calls Lisa. She looks at me and asks, are you sure you don't want to just make it a 2 weeks notice? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm quitting. Effective immediately. And she's like, I mean, okay, well, do you want to tell Lisa or do you want me to? I says, oh, no, you can tell her. I got nothing to say to her, trust me. So, yeah, I ended up quitting. I walked out, and to tell you the truth, my last check was like $85. So, I'm getting chewed out for less than $100 a week. Amazing. Anyway, to wrap this part of, this whole thing, not this whole thing, but like this part of it up. The place shut down after a year. Um, my mom and my grandmother both kind of said, like, dude, there's no way this place is going to last. Everything in the store was juniors. It was for kids. Keep in mind, there was like no advertising for this place. There was hardly anything worth of marketing, and the sales, the clothes were cheaply made. The return policy at this place was basically like they wouldn't give you a refund. You couldn't get your money back. You had to exchange things and basically match the value. Everything down to the last penny. So yeah, like that alone, we were like, everybody was just like, dude, this place ain't gonna last. You could totally get a better job elsewhere. Um, that's what I did. I quit and I got a job somewhere else. It was a Little Caesars, which I'm not really gonna talk about because I wasn't there that long. So anyway, moving on. This is years later, and this is kind of the meat of this whole podcast. This is the place that so far in my life I have been to the longest. It's a grocery store that we're all familiar with. Kroger. I worked there for 4 years. And, tell you the truth, it wasn't that bad of a job. I mean, definitely not the best job I've ever had. It had its bad days. It had its days where it was incredibly stressful, but I met a lot of great people, people that I still keep in touch with to this day, and I love them. They're like family to me. I don't know where I would be without them. They pushed me to be a better person. They all challenged me to go that extra mile. So Kroger, the Kroger I was at anyway, it was, the people there were good. Now, the job itself, oh, stressful, very stressful. When I started at Kroger, I was what you call a frozen clerk. Basically, I would go inside the freezer. I'd get frozen food, like your frozen pizza, frozen chicken, frozen TV dinners, ice cream, that kind of stuff. I'd bring it out to the freezer. I'd stuff it, and that was that. To be honest, I didn't hate it. It was pretty enjoyable. I knew what I had to do. I didn't have to deal with a lot of people, except for when they would bug me for a flavor of ice cream. So it was pretty decent. What wasn't so fun was the head of the department. This was a man who obviously was not very happy. His name was Gary. And yeah. Oh boy, Gary. This was a guy who was notorious in the store for basically being an asshole. Nobody liked to work with this guy. Nobody had a lot of nice things to say about him. He was one of those cynical. He's like one of those cynical guys that wouldn't say a lot of nice things. I mean, if he said anything nice about you at all, you were lucky. So yeah, definitely not a person that you'd want to work under. This guy would over order. It was his job since he was the head of the department. He would over order. He would order, like, if you needed 100 cases of like a certain frozen dinner, he'd order 300. He would order way more than you needed. And he would he would order 800 packages and maybe stuff 100 of them himself. He would expect the next person to get the other 700. And he had very specific rules about how you would have to put things in. Like, oh, if you can't empty a box completely, then just put it back. So, like, if you had a bunch of banquet frozen dinners and, there's like three on the shelf, but and you have six in a box, and only four of them are going to go up. Well, don't open the box. Just let someone get those other three. Um, little things like that. It was confusing. And this guy would always tell you, like, oh, leveling should only take you an hour and a half. If it takes you 2 hours, that's too much. So, and I'd like to think I would keep pace, but this dude would get everyone thrown out of that department because he'd always bitch, like, oh, they're not getting shit done fast enough. So, yeah, just, again, not a fun guy to work under. So, to give you a couple specific incidents with this guy, I remember one time, a buddy of mine, you guys know him, it's Vinny. He called me. Well, he actually texted me. He texted me. His grandmother had died. Now, I was in the middle of a shift. It was like a Saturday afternoon, and getting this text, I knew it hit him hard. So I went to the bathroom. I called him up, and I says, "Hey, man, I'm talking to him." I says, "Hey, if you need anything, just let me know. It's gonna be okay. Your grandmother is in a better place now. That whole thing." And he was like, "I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that whatever." So now, not to get too into detail, but I also did have to go to the bathroom. So I wasn't just going to the bathroom to call my buddy Vinny, but it just so happened that, like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I pull out my phone, and I got that text message. So kind of just fell in. So I go back in, and Gary maybe had like a half hour left in his shift or something. He's like, "You were in the bathroom a long time. What were you doing in there?" I said, "I was going to the bathroom." He goes, "What do you mean you were going to the bathroom?" I'm like, "I was going to the bathroom. Like, what do you think I was doing in there? Like, come on." And he's like, "Well, I don't believe you." And I'm like, "Are you really?" Well, I'm not even kidding. I yell out loud. I go, "What do you expect me to do? Shit myself?" And later that night, actually, somebody who worked in the dairy department, I was throwing some cardboard in the baler, and there was a guy that came to me that worked in dairy and said, "Dude, that was hilarious." "What the hell were you guys fighting about?" And I said, "He chewed me out because I was in the bathroom too long." And I told him, like, "Dude, I was taking a crap the whole time. Like, I don't know what his problem is, but I just, he's like, dude, all I heard was the, 'what do you expect me to do, shit myself?' part." And it was hilarious. I'm like, I mean, I didn't intend for it to be hilarious. I wasn't trying to be funny, but yeah. Yeah, it was funny. Now, another incident. This was my last day in Frozen. This was after Gary had complained enough to management that they finally said, "Okay, we're gonna move him up to the register." So, this is my last day. I'm putting everything on the table, getting ready to move it out, and Gary says, "Oh, you're going to the register after today, huh?" I go, "Yup. It's a hell of a lot better than in here." He goes, "Oh, it is, huh?" I go, "Yup." And he goes, "Oh, okay then. But why is that?" And I go, "'Cause you put way too much on my plate and you expect it done in a ridiculous manner of time. A ridiculous time frame." And he goes, "Oh, do I?" And I go, "Yeah, you do." And he goes, "Well, I'm so damn sorry, Justin. I didn't mean to make you feel like that." And I'm like, whatever, dude. At this point, I was over it. So, yeah. Move up to the register, and yeah, this is where I got the most exposure with the public. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is about a lady. Her name was Carla. Now, I only know that because she was a reoccurring customer. We actually had a nickname for her. We would call her the Cracker Lady. Now, why would we call her the Cracker Lady? Because she'd buy these like special saltine crackers that were specifically in like the deli sandwich section, and she would fucking complain. She'd bring them back, complain that they're too soggy, get her money back, and then get another thing of crackers from the same place at a discounted price. So, I don't know how the store would let this keep going, but yeah, whatever. So, anyway, she's got a box of cereal, and she comes up to me, and she says, do you price match? Or, I'm sorry, it doesn't say. She asked me, do you price match? I says, I don't think so. No, we don't. We didn't. So I says, no. She goes, well, because Meijer has this on sale for, it's like a box of Rice Krispies, and like, well, it's $3.15, it's $3.30 here. It's only $2.99 at Meijer. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, ma'am. We don't price match. And so I was there till midnight. It's about 10:15 p.m. I was there till midnight. There was another cashier that was there till 11. And my supervisor had told me, like, you're going to need to take your break by 10:30 so you can be back on time to get Taylor. Now, Taylor's a friend of mine, so, that should tell you guys what ended up happening. There was no hard feelings. I'm not even kidding when I say it. Carla, the Cracker Lady, kept me at the register for 45 minutes trying to fight with me about price matching Meijer. My supervisor had to come out and tell her, we don't price match. We don't price match. And she would still keep fighting with me. It was almost like she was doing that thing that customers do. It's like, if I just keep pushing and pushing, they'll eventually get tired and give me what I want. That's my theory on it. I think that's what she was trying to do, but who knows? So, finally, 11 o'clock, I finally get her out the door. And unfortunately, my friend Taylor had to stay an extra 15 minutes, but it is what it is. She wasn't mad about it. It all worked out. It is what it is. But yeah, that was my first incident with Carla. Now, I will tell you guys another one, but I'll wait on that, because the next one I'm going to tell you guys about is it's a pretty short one. It's what I call the crazy door lady. Oh, this one's fun. So, one night I was running the self checkout, and again I was there till midnight. This lady comes in. Now, we used to lock the doors. We had like two different entrances. We would lock one side at a point during the nighttime. And they ended up changing which entrance they would lock. And I guess this lady didn't know. So she came into the other one. And she like scurries in. And is just like flipping out. I mean, she's like paranoid about something. And I'm like, holy crap, what's going on? She's like, why is that door locked down there? Why is that one locked? Why is it locked? Why? And I'm like, because we lock it at some point in the night. She goes, that's dangerous. Do you know that? That's so dangerous. I could have been raped. I could have been killed. Do you know that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, we got a bagger taking care of the carts, and they were like super small, like not somebody that could have defended themselves. So I'm thinking, is there somebody out there? Do I need to get the bagger in the store? Because, like, I don't want anything to happen to the bagger. She's like, There's nobody out there, just the bagger. But I'm just saying, I could have been raped. I could have been attacked. You got to open the door. And she starts crying. I'm not kidding. She starts crying. She goes and bugs the night crew and starts crying. She eventually comes back, and you know that feeling you get in your stomach when you see someone that you really don't want to see, and you get the butterflies in your stomach, and it just feels like time stands still. You're just like, well, that was me. I was like, oh my God, not this lady. What's she going to say now? And she comes up to me. She's all happy this time. And she's like, the nice lady on the night crew is going to let me out down there. You know, pointing at the entrance. Sorry. Pointing at the entrance. That, you know, that we lock normally. And I'm like, okay. Okay, you have a good night, ma'am. So she leaves, and the lady on the night crew that let her out, she comes back to me and says, dude, that woman, I shit you not, she came up to me and these other guys, and her name, the girl I'm talking about in particular, her name was Amanda. Amanda tells me, she says, dude, she started crying. You know, she's like, the door is locked. And I was like, yeah, she was talking about being murdered and raped and whatnot. We were just like, people. Now, again, much like the crazy Nazi lady, if this woman needed any kind of help, I hope she gets it, you know, or I hope she got it. You know, never a good thing to see this, but, you know, yeah. The next thing I want to talk about is one of my earlier experiences on the register. Again, this one's going to be relatively short. There was this lady that was just, oh, she was being a bitch. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, guys. She was just cantankerous and clearly angry about something. Because I had a coworker there, her name was Jen, and she played Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was like pretty popular at the time, and I said, and I had read in like a headline or an article earlier, like a couple days before, that said, that Pokemon Go had lost a bunch of players. And I think like in between, before I said that, I was looking at a magazine cover or something like that. It had like the Kardashians on it, and I might have made a crack about like, people still care about the Kardashians. Oh my God, you know, kind of thing, whatever. Just, again, just being stupid, trying to get people to laugh. But this lady was just not having it. And as soon as I mentioned the Pokemon Go thing, my coworker Jen looks at me and says, you know, gives me the 1 second, you know, like the gesture, and then this lady just out of nowhere starts yelling. She's like, "No, you need to shut up," and I'm like, what are you like? I wasn't even talking to you, you know. And she's like, I don't care. You're talking about stupid crap, the Kardashians and Pokemon Go and the fucking Kardashians. And I'm like, I shit you not. I literally look. I go, well, I'll give you that. I was talking about stupid crap. I honestly was being a smartass. Probably not a good thing, but yeah, I was being a smartass. And you know, she goes, you know what? This is why you're a Kroger, 'cause you're stupid. You know, and that was that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And I said, she said, maybe she didn't, I don't know if she called me stupid, but she did say, this is why you're a Kroger. basically implying that I'm an idiot, and I was, or at least that's how I interpreted it, and I like I said, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I start kind of walking towards her, and I did that thing where like I stretch forward, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, nice observation there, genius. I'll have you know, I have a degree." Probably not a good thing. Actually, I think I said, "Nice observation, you fucking genius." Like I said, fucking genius. And yeah, that, suffice it to say, that landed me in some trouble. Um, so yeah, not fun, but you know what? Doesn't excuse anything. I every time I think back on it, I honestly just think that woman was just having a bad day and needed someone to yell at. Now, again, not saying it's right, and I think it actually says a lot about a person, the way they treat retail workers. Um, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. If there ain't nothing else, it's a funny story for me to tell people on YouTube. Moving on. This is another incident. This is actually pretty recent. This I oh god, I swear this happened in the last couple of years. Like I think this happened just before COVID. But there was this lady that came in one night. Now, she came in, was just super angry, already pissed off, and I guess she had called earlier to file a complaint about somebody. I don't know. Then she literally came in the store to file a complaint about the same person. I honestly don't remember. But she was pissed off, and um, she's like giving me the death stare the entire time. It was like, "I want to speak to your manager. I want to speak to your manager," and I'm like, "Well, all the managers leave at 10 o'clock. I don't. My supervisor, the way it would work is we had a gas station across the street. The supervisor, the front end cashier, the customer, the assistant customer service manager, the ACSM, the abbreviation, they'd have to go to the gas station and grab all the stuff, basically leaving the lead cashier to take care of everything. Now, there technically was a manager on duty. It was the night crew manager, but more than half the time, they would not come and do their job. They would sit in the back, they would completely avoid it, or they would just opt not to do it. They just didn't care. So, this woman, like I said, giving me the death stare, and I said, okay. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I could try calling the night crew manager. So if that's okay with you, that's close. That's best I can do though. And she's like, "I'm gonna be really pissed off if you don't." I'm like, okay. So I try contacting the manager, the night crew manager, and would you look at that? He doesn't show up. He sits in the back, never shows up. My supervisor finally arrives. This lady has lost her patience. And I says, "Look, my supervisor's down there. If you want to file a complaint with her, you can talk to her." Well, she filed a complaint, all right. It wasn't against the person that she originally came in to file a complaint over. Oh, no, 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 no. She decided to file a complaint against me for, quote unquote, not doing my job. Even though I was the only one doing my job. I called for the manager, and he decided to sit in the back and not take the call, not acknowledge that I even called for him. So, yeah. You know what they did? They decided to take me to the produce section and tell me all about how, like, "Oh, Justin, you got to get the management. You got to get a manager. You got to get a manager, man. You can't do this by yourself." I'm like, you can't be fucking serious right now. I literally tried to call for you, dude. Where the hell were you? And he had nothing to say. He goes, oh, I didn't hear it. Whatever. So, whatever. I got, whatever. It is what it is. I left. I left for the night, and I forgot it. So, this next one, this is a fun one to talk about. This is a fun one to remember. You guys remember Carla, the cracker lady? Well, this one isn't about her specifically, but it does involve her in a manner of speaking. So, another coworker of mine had to deal with her, and I watched it happen. Much like when she kept me at the register for 45 minutes, she kept my coworker, for a long time, held up at the register for the stupidest fucking thing. I don't know what it was for, but I'm pretty sure it was stupid. So, she finally, she finally leaves. My coworker turns around, kind of does that thing where you're like, you take your index finger and your middle finger, and you're like rubbing the sides of your temples. Yeah. So she's doing that, and I'm talking to her. And I'm ringing somebody up in the process, and I'm like, that woman is a nut. I mean, she fucking, every time I see her, she's always fighting with me. It's ridiculous. So this guy, this is who I want to talk about. This guy decides to come in on his high horse, and he looks at me and he goes, if I was the manager of this place, you wouldn't have a job right now. And I look at him, and I'm like in disbelief. I'm like, who the fuck are you? What the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Like, who the hell do you think you are? So, and he goes, you shouldn't talk about your customers like that. They're the reason you even have a paycheck. Or you even get a paycheck. I'm sorry. I'm like, really? And I look at him and I go, uh-huh. So I grab his receipt. I read, it's him and his wife or his girlfriend, whatever. I read everything off, and I looked at him, and I threw the receipt. I didn't throw it overhand. I just kind of threw it up in the air, like tossed it. Just kind of tossed it at him, like that thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. I kind of just tossed it at him. And I really didn't give a crap if it got me in trouble. I was like, this asshole is on his high horse, and he kind of deserves to be slapped. But obviously I can't slap him, so I won't do that. But I've always I hate that crap. I hate when customers feel the need, like, I'm going to stand up for another customer even though I have no idea what's going on. In some situations, again, maybe I can understand it, but in a situation like that has nothing to do with you, stay the fuck out of it. You don't know anything about what was going on. And look, I'd be willing to bet if that guy knew anything about that woman, I mean, unless it was his mother or something, which I doubt it, because he never said, that's my mom. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But anyway, if that guy knew anything about that woman, or had to deal with her, he definitely, I don't think he would have said what he said. But, whatever. I was pissed. This guy was, like, coming in on his high horse, and I always hate shit like that. So, I tossed the receipt at him, not giving a crap that it could easily get me in trouble. But it is what it is. So, this next incident, this is another one of me fighting with a manager. kind of seems to be an ongoing theme here. Um, so this was, I believe, Christmas, either 2017 or 2018. I'm not sure what year, but this right around the holiday season. It was like maybe it was like Christmas Eve. The night before, December 23rd, I got really sick. Now I had actually worked a shift, and I got really sick. I was sweating. Probably one of the worst head colds I've ever had. I won't give away all the details, but let's just say, like, I could barely stand up. I felt weak. The normal things that you feel when you're sick. So, I end up getting sick, but I finished my shift because I knew I was like, I'm the only one closing. They're kind of screwed if I leave early. So, it is what it is. I ended up being there with an angry customer. I won't give away the details, but let's just say we closed at midnight. This guy kept me there for 15 extra minutes, fighting with me over his credit card, not giving him cash back. And then it got so bad, somebody else came in the store, and I'm sick. I look at my supervisor and I say, "Can you please deal with these people? I'm really sick," or whatever. And she's like, come on, you can make it. Like, okay. So, okay. I finished up. It is what it is. I'm not, whatever. I knew I was not going to be in the next day. I knew I was going to be sick. I was going to call off. I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I called, and my manager decides to, his name was Wayne. My manager decides to fight with me. He goes, "Oh, come on, Justin, it's the busiest day of the year." And I go, Sir, I'm really sick. I can barely get out of bed. I mean, I'm sweating, and like, you could just tell by the sound of my voice, I sounded stuffy. I sounded horrible. Yeah, this was, I was sick. And he's like, "Oh, come on, Justin, it's the busiest day of the year. We really need you. Just go to sleep and call me again in an hour and see how you feel." I'm in disbelief. So that's exactly what I did. I went back to sleep. I woke up. Oh, look at that. I'm still sick. So I called again, and it was my supervisor. It was a different one. Her name was Corlette. She goes, "Oh my God, you sound horrible." And I go, "That's funny because I feel horrible." And she's like, "Oh my God, honey, you need to stay home." And I go, "That's what I was calling to say. I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm really sorry, but I can't." And then she's like, "Dude, no, don't worry about it. You sound horrible. Stay home. Take care of yourself. Have a happy holidays." And that was that. And I was just so happy I didn't have to talk to that manager again. Um, yeah, ridiculous. I can understand it's the holiday season and you're short staffed, but what do you want me to do? Come in and spread the common cold to everyone else? Might have been worse. Might have been the flu. Who knows? It wasn't. I'm not gonna. No, it was definitely just a cold, but still, it was pretty bad. Like I said, I couldn't get out of bed. All I wanted to do was collapse. Yeah, not good. Not fun. So these next couple of incidents, these are the last incidents from Kroger that I want to talk about. Now, these I wanted to save because these were right around the time when COVID-19 hit the United States, specifically Michigan, where I live. This is when we first started getting case numbers. Or at least this is, let's be honest, it was probably around long before. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I'm pretty sure we already had cases long before they were reporting them. But this was on the first night we were getting reported cases. And I was still there. I got to see everything happen after the shutdown. Oh boy. If you ever want to see how crazy people can get, work at a grocery store at the beginning of a pandemic. I don't think I'd ever sold so much water and toilet paper. We literally had to put limits on the amount of toilet paper and water that one could buy because of how bad it was getting. So anyway, there was a guy that was just spouting off numbers. Like, how many people have died? How many people had it? How many people are going to have it? Now, keep in mind, this is in the middle of a grocery store. This is at like 10 o'clock at night, and we're packed to the brim with people who are panicking. They're not thinking straight. And this guy is spouting, oh my God, this amount of people have died, this amount has happened, that amount has happened. Donald Trump just said this, Donald Trump just said that. Even though he was misquoting Trump, and I'm not even kidding. The only thing I could think is, oh my God, dude, don't put me in a position where I got to defend Donald Trump. I don't want to be in that position. Come on. I hate Trump. Come on. Like, no. Don't do that. Don't make me defend him. Like, But he really was. He was misquoted. It's like, Donald Trump, President Trump is saying this, and President Trump saying this. Never said any of that, dude. I'm going to need to ask you to calm down. I can't have you getting people riled up. Well, I finally get him calmed down enough, and he leaves, and I'm like, okay, finally, he's gone. Well, he comes running back in. And I'm like, oh no, what's he want now? And he goes, and he starts waving his arms, and he goes, there's 170,000 confirmed cases in Michigan. I'm like, dude, there's 2. There was like 2 at the time, but regardless, that was not the right, I'll admit it up front, not the right response. The next thing I said was the right response, which was, I told him to get out. I told him, go. You need to get out of here, sir. You're going to cause a ruckus. Honestly, it was the first time I ever felt the need to kick anyone out. And I technically didn't have the authority to do so. I was just a cashier. I wasn't technically allowed to kick anyone out. But, again, could not have this guy starting trouble in the store. Just couldn't have it. So, anyway, he finally leaves, and I get this old lady who would constantly refer to it as the human extinction virus. So, this woman was telling me shit like, she starts off by saying, I know someone who works at the CDC. My nephew works for the CDC. And my or maybe it was her son. I don't remember. It was like some relative of hers, like a younger relative of hers. Oh, they work for the CDC, and my daughter my neighbor's daughter works for the governor of Baltimore or some shit. Governor of Baltimore, governor of Maryland. Oh my God. The governor of Maryland, and they're saying it's really bad. And like, okay, well, what are, whatever. Like, I'm trying my best to ignore it, and she's like, I know someone who works at the CDC, or my nephew, whatever, works at the CDC, and he says this virus is the real deal. This is it, everybody, the human extinction virus. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, this is so ridiculous. I so don't get paid enough for this. Like, that's all I kept thinking. Was just like, I swear to God, I don't get paid enough for this. So, I finally, she shows, I don't know why I said I finally, but she shows me some pictures. She shows me a picture that she took off her phone from the TV. She took a picture of her TV. on her phone of someone standing next to, I guess it was like maybe the mayor of Baltimore, or maybe it was the governor of Maryland. I don't know. Um, but yeah, like not exactly compelling proof that this person. And she was like, see, this is my nephew or my son. They work for the CDC, and it's like a blank Facebook page. I'm not even kidding. No profile pic or anything. Now, I don't know how the CDC operates. Uh, I don't know if they just tell their people, like, oh, if you're going to have Facebook, you got to have private. You got to have, like, no pictures. I don't know. I really don't. I'm speaking from a point of ignorance. But I'm just saying, not a very convincing sign of evidence. So I'm like, okay. And she just kept saying it over and over again. This virus is the real deal. The human extinction virus. The human extinction virus. And I'm like, okay, ma'am. I'm going to need you to go ahead and buy your stuff. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You know, again, this is like minutes after I kicked one guy out. And again, I don't have this authority. But I'm like, dude, I can't have people in here causing a ruckus and making people uncomfortable and well, not uncomfortable, but like possibly causing an uproar. People were already crazy. It was already an unsettling time. I can't have people in there getting hysterical. So that's kind of the last thing I want to talk about as far as Kroger goes. I do have one more job to kind of talk about, but it's super short. We'll get through it really fast. But I do want to say, Kroger had its ups and downs, but I met a lot of great people there, a lot of people that to this day I still love. And I'm actually, at the time I'm recording this, I'm actually working on a project for all those people. So, yeah, there were some good times to be had at Kroger, but for the most part, it was very stressful. Now, the last job I want to talk about is the Home Depot. This was actually the last job I had before my current job. And, much like Kroger, met some really great people that I still, I go back and say hi to every now and again. And as far as what I did there, I was a lot attendant. So basically, I would take care of the lot. I would help people with loads. It was a serviceable job at best. It wasn't a bad job. I certainly got to do a lot of heavy lifting, which I normally like to do. But it had some stressful, moments. First thing I want to talk about will be this incident with this guy. Now, he called me for a load, so I'm up front and I'm helping him. And then he started doing that thing where it's like, oh, I forgot something. I gotta go back and get it. Now, keep in mind, this isn't a grocery store. This is Home Depot. This is a hardware store. This guy's constantly running back, and he kept doing it. He was doing it like 2 or 3 times. I had to leave in like 10 minutes. So I told him specifically, I says, hey, if you end up coming back here and I'm not here, there will be another loader that can help you. So just don't panic if you don't see me. And he goes, okay. Well, next thing I know, I'm leaving, and my supervisor, Josh, he comes up to me and he's like, Justin, a customer tried to say that you said you couldn't help him with a load. And I says, that's not what I said at all. I said, if I'm gone by the time you get back, there will be another loader that can help you. That's what I said. And he was like, oh, okay, that's what I figured. Just kind of left it. So, that one kind of came and passed, but it was just kind of mildly annoying that this guy's like, he's so petty, he's just like, I gotta go get something. I gotta go get something. oh, this guy's not going to sit here and wait for me while I continuously do bullshit that's super annoying and really making myself into a pest. Like, no, fuck off. This next incident, this one's pretty straightforward. It's also just, this kind of just pisses me off, but, there was a guy that bought, like, 25 bags of like pebbles or like it was like some kind of rocks or something. 25 bags. These bags are not light. You know, these bags weigh like probably like 30 to 40 pounds, something like that, maybe even 50. Um, okay, maybe not that much, but they're not light. So, and this guy could not have been too much older than me. Hell, he probably was about my age. He may have even been younger. My my point being is this guy specifically bought 25 bags, and he literally just sat on his ass and watched me get all 25 bags. He didn't even park next to the damn bags. So I had to walk like 10 feet, 25 bags, while he just sat there and watched. Yeah. And the last thing, this one's actually really funny, and it almost has nothing to do with me, but this kind of just speaks to the fact that you will meet a lot of crazy people in retail. Um, so this was an incident that happened. It wasn't really all that long ago. It was maybe like a month before I finally left. And it was this guy, my coworker, who was another lot attendant. His name was Jake. He he was getting like a bunch of carts, and basically this guy almost ran him over, which was unfortunately more common than I would like to let on. Not that people were getting run over, but that like almost getting ran over. It's pretty fucking common at this place. Like people just don't pay attention when they're driving through the parking lot. In a nutshell. So my coworker Jake he's like pushing a bunch of carts, and this guy almost hits him, and I guess Jake said something along the lines of like "fuck you" or "fuck off" to this guy, and this guy got pissed and said something back. Um, so now this is where I caught it. I was kind of walking up on one of the entrances, and this guy ran up on my coworker, and he's like, "What did you fucking say to me, you little punk?" And Jake's like, "I told you to fuck off." And this guy's like, "Oh yeah, you little punk bitch. I'll break a fucking brick over your head." Seriously, this guy threatened to break a brick over his head. And my buddy Jake he goes, "Yeah, yeah, go do it. I'll show you where they are." It was insane. I'm walking away, and actually when he threatened to break a brick over Jake's head, that's when I turned around. I was kind of like, "Whoa, dude, that." Because I kind of knew, I figured Jake's gonna get in trouble. I want to be there to at least say, "Hey, that guy threatened him, though. Like, come on now. You can't hold it. You can't hold it all on Jake. That's very serious. But yeah, it was nuts. So yeah. Now, thankfully, nothing bad happened. The guy, seemingly just moved on with his day, and everything was all right. Retail, gotta love it. So anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this podcast. This one was super long, but I have been looking forward to making this one for a long time. Like I said, the job I'm working now, it's at a place called Wheelhouse Graphics, and it's like a sign company. We make signs, banners, like those chloroplastic signs you see outside and stuff like that. And it's a wonderful place. I really like it. I've only been there for a couple weeks, but it's been everybody there has just been so great to me. I love it. So I'm definitely in a spot now where I'm definitely looking to grow and just kind of see where things go. But with that said, to anyone out there who has worked in retail or is still working in retail to this day, I have the utmost respect for you. I know how you feel. It's a very rough job, and I salute you. So anyway, guys, like I said, that's gonna wrap things up. Uh, Please tell me some of your retail experiences down in the comment section below. I would love to hear some of your horror stories and experiences, or maybe if you got a positive story to talk about. Let's not keep everything negative. If you got something positive to say it in the comment section below. Could always use a little positivity here. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap things up now, for real this time. Uh, like I said, be on the lookout for some more projects coming up. I'm working on a lot of things, including Creepypastathon. That's coming up in October, the last Creepypastathon. So be sure to catch that starting in October. It's you know, more than a month from now, about 2 months from now, actually, less than 2 months from now. But anyway, so I'm gonna go, guys. Have a great day. Stay awesome. And until next time, this is CuJo Productions signing out.